Memories of Others. Chapter 1. I did not write this myself. I am only taking the first chapter from someone else's fanfic, and making my own story based on it as a starting point. Last night in Konoha. And you know why everyone hates you? Mizuki sneered from his position on the tree branch. It's because 12 years ago, the Kyuubi attacked Konoha, killing many ninja until it was stopped by the fourth Hokage who sealed it away. Mizuki, no, Iruka shouted, into the form of a baby. Mizuki continued with evil glee, that baby was you, and you are the nine-tailed fox, and now I shall finish what the Yondaime started. Naruto stood above the beaten and battered form of Mizuki, surrounded by hundreds of cage bunshin, and I kinda got a bit carried away. He explained weakly as Iruka limped over. The clones started to vanish as Iruka stopped before Naruto. Close your eyes, the Chunin smiled. Trust me. Naruto closed his eyes and felt his goggles being gently removed from his forehead. Then something was tied on in its place. Slowly reaching up, his nervously questing fingers found a fabric band, and on that band, a metal plate. The plate wasn't newly minted like those he had seen on those classmates of his who had graduated, but the edges of the inscribed leaf were still easily felt by his fingertips, and the edges of the plate, although nicked and slightly scarred, were still solid. Naruto slowly opened his eyes and saw Iruka smiling proudly at him, his forehead bare of the Hittite that now adorned Naruto's brow. Congratulations, Genin Naruto, Iruka said gently. You are a true ninja of Konoha now, and of all my class, I am the most proud of you. Sarutobi Hiruzen smiled at the scene in the crystal ball on the desk in front of him. Then he reached out and placed the official stamp on a piece of paperwork that he had been filling out while watching the events unfold. Well done, Naruto-kun, he whispered quietly. You've taken your first step to achieving your goal. The piece of paper on the desk was placed into a small folder. As it vanished, the words at the top were briefly highlighted by the lamp in the corner of the room. Form 451,979. Confirmation of field promotion in peacetime. Academy student Uzumaki Naruto promoted to Genin. 012607. Promoting officer. Senior Chunin Umino Iruka. 011850. Seconded by Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen. 000261. Memories of Others. Chapter 1. Path of a New Genin. Naruto woke up with a huge smile on his face as he opened his eyes to see, placed on the small wooden box that served as his bedside table, the slightly battered and scratched Hittite that confirmed beyond all doubt that the events of the previous night hadn't been a dream. He was a ninja, and in just 1 week, a mere 7 days, he would be assigned a team of his own, letting him prove just how totally awesome he was, as long as he wasn't teamed up with Sasuke, that broody bastard. Naruto shook his head to clear away the depressing thought, taking a deep breath of morning air, and he really needed to get THT window fixed. He bounced out of bed, before scampering into the bathroom to shower. Then he paused and created a clone. Head to the kitchen and make me some breakfast, he commanded, and the clone nodded. Okay, but hurry up. Naruto stuck his tongue out at the clone, then turned the tap to switch on the shower. Shedding his pajamas, he jumped into the shower cubicle. Cooled, the clone snickered as it switched the kettle on. Naruto finished tossing on his orange jacket. Chicken ramen. He smiled, then he paused. Hey, how did I know that? For a moment, Naruto frowned, then he shrugged. Maybe I smelled it. Whatever. Time to eat. Pausing to adjust the small sigil on his shoulder, Naruto bounced into the kitchen to devour the ramen-y goodness awaiting him. Itadakimasu. The morning was bright and cheerful as Naruto closed the door to his apartment. Unlike normal, he didn't lock it, a fact that was explained as the door reopened and another Naruto stepped out, this one holding a bag of rubbish in its free hand. We'll have the apartment tidied up by the time you get back, boss. Good, Naruto nodded, mentally noting how useful cage bunshin were. Now if there was only some way to get some decent food. Blasphemy, the clone gasped. Ramen is the food of the 1,000 kami. Naruto chuckled in agreement, then turned to continue his interrupted journey. I'm going to have a walk round, maybe visit the old man to ask who's on my team. And why am I even telling you that? You're me. The clone laughed. We'll get things done for you. Good luck with our team. Maybe Sakura-chan will be on it. As long as the team isn't, she might stop hitting us. That would be amazing, Naruto said dreamily. Then he turned and walked towards the stairs. Wish me luck, Mies. Good luck. 3 of the clones chorused and Naruto left, chuckling. 3 hours later, his good mood had almost vanished. Although the average, non-ninja, observer wouldn't have been able to tell, whenever he walked near a crowd, he would hear whispers along the lines of how could they let IT become a ninja, or it won't be long before that thing snaps and goes on a killing spree, as well as several other comments which showed that they had known all along about his burden, but had put the same interpretation on it as Mizuki had. Turning, Naruto strode through the entrance of the Hokage Tower and scampered up the stairs. Hey Ajiji, he called, and his adoptive grandfather looked up from the paperwork. He was perusing with a smile that lightened Naruto's heart. Naruto, it's good to see you, he said as he waved for Naruto to take a seat. So, what brings Konoha's newest genin into my office today? Naruto grinned at the reminder of how he had attained the long-desired rank. Well, I was wondering who was going to be on my team, Naruto admitted. I'm sure you'd just love to give me the hat and all, but even I know that's not gonna happen yet. Very true, Hiruzen agreed gravely. Although Naruto caught the gleam of laughter in the old shinobi's eyes, the teams are still being arranged and the Jonin senseis assigned to them. Cool, Naruto breathed, then he frowned. So that means that I can't tell you what the teams are right now, Hiruzen supplied. You know, in just 1 week you'll know which team you are going to be assigned to and who your Jonin sensei will be. As long as I get an awesome one, it'll be cool, Naruto exclaimed. Then he blinked as a blur deposited even more paperwork on Hiruzen's desk. Why don't you head out to get your official photo taken for the files? Hiruzen suggested. And tomorrow, after you bring a photo and I approve it, I'll take you out for some celebratory ramen. You're the greatest, Jiji, Naruto exulted, his previous good mood fully restored. One awesome pic coming right up. Hiruzen laughed as Naruto bounced out of the office, then sighed as he looked at the top sheet of paperwork. So, how do I find where to get the photo? Naruto muttered to himself as he walked down the main street. Naruto looked round to see who had called him, his gaze coming to rest on a familiar dark-haired girl, who was staring at him from beside a taller, red-eyed woman with longer midnight black curly hair. A brief moment's thought brought up the younger girl's name. Heya, Hinata, Naruto called as he jogged over, grinning hugely as he pointed at his Hite-8. I made it. I'm a ninja too. I heard about that, the taller woman said, and Naruto gave her a curious look. I'm Jonin Yuhi-Kyumi, please, said Tamicha. Naruto replied. Genin Uzumaki Naruto, future Hokage. Hinata giggled, then gave a small bow. Probationary Genin Hyuga Hinata? Honored to meet you. Wait, Naruto said. Probanana? A what? Said Genin. I thought you passed. The others who passed the academy exam are all currently probationary Genin. They will become full Genin when they are taken as students by a Jonin sensei, Kyunavi explained. You were granted a field promotion, so even if you don't get a Jonin sensei, you'll still be an official Genin and able to take missions. Hinata gave Naruto an awed look and his grin grew wider. Yep, I'm awesome. So, what you're doing? We don't get teams till next week, so why are we going to be working on my chakra control? Hinata said quietly. I need to build up my reserves. Chakra control, Naruto groaned. That's my weak point. I blew up the leaf last time I tried. It sounds like you almost certainly have too much chakra, Kyunavi mused. If you wish, I can teach you a new exercise that should be fairly easy for you. Then you can work your way back down to leaf floating. So, Training? Naruto exclaimed. Count me in. If that's okay with you. Hinata, I mean, she is your teacher, right? It's fine. Hinata squeaked, turning red, and Naruto grabbed her shoulders. Hinata, you're turning red. Are you getting a fever? Let me check your temperature. Kunari. Hinata's collapsed. She'll be fine. Kunari smiled. However, if I can ask a favor. Naruto gave Kunari a quizzical look. Favor? Well, it's a bit of a walk to the practice grounds. And this is where we are going to practice. Hinata heard as she regained consciousness to find herself being carried on someone's back. For a moment, she thought that she was being carried by Kunari, but the hair against the side of her face was all wrong for that. Wow, cool place, Naruto's voice said, and Hinata frowned mentally. It wasn't Kunari who was carrying her, and Naruto was nearby. Hinata's thoughts hiccupped to a stop as she realized that it was Naruto who was carrying her, but before she could do anything, Naruto was speaking again. Let me put Hinata down. Cage Bunshin no Jutsu. A wave of chakra seemed to flow through Hinata, engulfing her in a feeling of protectiveness. Then she heard Kunari gasp. Oh, how did that happen? Naruto asked, and Hinata opened her eyes, glancing round, to see herself staring back at her from the back of another Naruto. Good heavens! Kunari breathed, her gaze switching rapidly between Hinata and her unexpected clone. I know that the Cage Bunshin technique duplicates what someone is carrying, but to duplicate an entire person, Hinata took advantage of Naruto's shocked stillness to lower herself to the ground, an action copied by her clone. Both girls glanced at each other, then looked down, tapping the tips of their forefingers. Well, Kunari said slowly, I see that Hinata's clone has her mannerisms. Clone Hinata, what was the last flower you pressed? A bellflower, the clone replied, and Hinata nodded in agreement. So, you have Hinata's memories too. Do you know what Naruto had for breakfast? The clone shook her head, and Kunari hummed thoughtfully. I've never seen this done before, she finally admitted, but it would seem that you've somehow cloned Hinata as a byproduct of cloning yourself. Even having just found out about it, I can tell you that once word spreads amongst the Jonin, you'll become the favorite support ninja in the village for A&S ranked missions, which means we need to keep this quiet, or enemy shinobi will target you specifically in order to stop you boosting our forces. I don't get it, Naruto admitted, and Kunari sighed. Sit, she commanded, sinking to the ground, and the others followed suit, the two Hinatas descending gracefully while the two Narutos simply flopped into a seated sprawl. Now, about your potential as part of a team. If you manage to learn how you cloned Hinata, you could potentially do it for an entire group at once, thus doubling their numbers. Repeat it enough times, and Konoha could field an entire army comprised purely of A&S ranked shinobi, each at full power and with all their abilities. Imagine having a dozen Hokages step onto the battlefield with another dozen in reserve. No enemy would choose to stay around at that point. Yet, Jiji showed me some of his skills when I was younger. Naruto agreed. He's awesome, and that is why we need to keep it a secret for now, Kunari stated. If I can see that potential, so can Konoha's enemies, and until you get strong enough to defend yourself against enemy Jonin, we need to keep this skill quiet. So, I can't use clones? Naruto asked, and Kunari sighed at the proof that he had missed the point she was trying to make. You can use as many clones as you want, just don't clone anyone else unless they already know about it and have given permission, Kunari stated. The two Narutos turned to look at Hinata and her clone. I don't mind, one of the Hinatas said quietly. On the plus side, you using clones can help with your training, Kunari added, and both Naruto stared at her in incomprehension. Indeed, Kunari said, rising. Naruto, stay here. Clone Naruto, come with me. Naruto watched his clone follow the Jonin to the edge of the clearing before they vanished into the trees. Then a memory popped up in his mind. I'm going to learn how to walk on water. Awesome. How did you know that? Kunari called as she walked back towards him, his clone nowhere to be seen. You told me, Naruto said blankly. Then he paused. How? I was here, but you told me behind that tree. I don't understand. I told your clone, then dispelled him. Kunai explained as she reached them. When you dispel a cage bunshin, you get back all their memories. In this case, me explaining what the first exercise for you will be. Naruto stared at her for a moment. I think I get it. So, everything they learn, I get back. Kunai nodded. Yes, but too many memories at once will hurt your brain or worse. So we'll work our way up slowly. I did several hundred clones when I beat up the traitor, Naruto supplied. And how long did it take? A few minutes. So a few minutes times 100 or so clones is maybe 4 or 5 hours worth of memories. And since you were concentrating on one thing, most of those memories will have blurred together. Kunai mused. Create 4 clones for now and we'll train for an hour before dispelling them so you get their memories. That should be fairly safe and we can work our way up to higher numbers. Yay, training! Naruto shouted as he flipped to his feet and made the clone seal. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Chapter 2, The First Lesson. The bright afternoon sun cast warm rays over the training field as Naruto and his clones spread out, preparing for their first exercise under Kunai's instruction. His excitement was infectious, making Hinata smile despite her lingering embarrassment over earlier events. Even her clone still stood next to her, hesitating slightly before finally dispelling itself with a quiet pop. The moment it vanished, Hinata shivered slightly, her eyes widening as new sensations and knowledge flooded her mind. It wasn't overwhelming, but it was strange. She suddenly understood exactly how Naruto's back felt when she was being carried, the warmth of his body, the way he moved, and even the sheer amount of energy he seemed to exude at all times. It made her blush all over again. Whoa, that was weird. Naruto turned to look at her, eyes bright with curiosity. Did you feel it too, Hinata? I mean, since you were the one cloned? Hinata nodded, still trying to process the experience. Why yes, Naruto-kun, I felt everything. Kunai, ever the observant teacher, watched this with a thoughtful expression. Interesting. Hinata, since this was your first experience with the Kage Bunshin's memory transfer, try to focus on whether or not the memories affect your chakra balance. Hinata closed her eyes, taking a moment to breathe deeply, her hands forming a simple seal to regulate her chakra. After a moment, she opened them and nodded hesitantly. I think it's fine. Good. Kunai turned back to Naruto. Alright, Naruto. The first step in improving your chakra control is learning how to walk on water. Naruto's eyes widened in excitement. Awesome. So, do I just run at the river and hope for the best? Kunai sighed, shaking her head with a patient smile. No, Naruto. Chakra control is about finesse, not brute force. Walking on water is harder than tree climbing because the water isn't solid. You have to constantly adjust the amount of chakra you push into your feet depending on how the water moves beneath you. Naruto scratched his head. So, I have to keep my chakra balanced and moving at the same time. Exactly. Kunai nodded. It takes a lot of practice to get it right, but don't worry, that's where your clones come in. Naruto grinned widely. Oh yeah, I can just make clones and have them learn it for me. Kunai folded her arms. Yes, but remember what I told you earlier. Too many clones and too much information at once could overload your mind. We'll start with just 4. Naruto nodded eagerly and formed the familiar cross seal, Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. 4 perfect copies of Naruto appeared in puffs of smoke, all grinning just as excitedly as the original. Alright, clones, time to learn how to walk on water, Naruto declared proudly. One of the clones pumped his fist. Hell yeah, we got this, boss. Another clone cracked his knuckles. Just tell us what to do. Kunai resisted the urge to rub her temples. You're all the same person, so stop acting like a group of separate people. The clones all snickered but nodded, focusing on Kunai as she pointed toward a large pond near the edge of the training ground. The trick is to continuously mold your chakra and release it steadily from your feet. If you use too little, you'll sink. Too much, and you'll bounce off like a rock skipping across the surface. Naruto immediately envisioned himself bouncing across the water like a skipping stone and shuddered. Yet, let's not do that. Kurenai smirked slightly, then start by placing one foot on the water's surface while keeping your chakra steady. You'll need to react instantly if the water shifts beneath you. Naruto and his clones all nodded and approached the water cautiously. The first clone took the initiative, stepping onto the surface, only for his foot to immediately sink into the water. Gah! It's cold, the clone yelped as he was instantly submerged. The second clone burst out laughing, right before he also took a step, and promptly face-planted into the pond with a loud splash. The third and fourth clones hesitated, but, seeing their comrades fail, they decided to focus harder before stepping onto the surface. One of them managed to stay upright for a second before the water beneath him shifted, and he lost his balance, tumbling in with a cry. The last clone, however, managed to remain standing for a full 2 seconds before he wobbled and fell backward into the water. The original Naruto, standing on the shore, sweet-dropped. Well, that's not promising. Kurenai chuckled. Don't worry, it's natural to fail at first. The point is to keep trying. The more you adjust your chakra, the easier it'll become. Naruto nodded and watched as his clones crawled back onto the shore, all of them drenched but determined. All right, round 2, he declared, pumping his fist. This time, the clones took a moment to focus their chakra before stepping onto the water. They lasted slightly longer, but one by one, they fell back into the pond. As the process repeated, Naruto could feel his clones adjusting, their progress gradually improving. After an hour, Kurenai instructed Naruto to dispel them. With a quick release of the jutsu, 4 sets of memories rushed into Naruto's mind all at once. His eyes widened as he processed what his clones had learned, the adjustments they had made, the mistakes they corrected, and the moments where they succeeded. I get it now. Naruto grinned, suddenly stepping onto the water himself. His foot wobbled, but instead of sinking, he adjusted his chakra flow instinctively and balanced himself. Kurenai's eyes widened slightly. That's faster progress than I expected. Naruto's grin stretched wider as he slowly took another step forward. His other foot landed on the surface of the pond, and for a brief moment, he stood there, perfectly balanced. Then he got cocky. Ha! Splash! He sank like a rock. Hinata gasped, but Kurenai simply sighed with a small smirk. He's improving, at least. Naruto resurfaced, sputtering but still grinning. That was so cool, I almost had it. Kurenai nodded. With this method, you should be able to master it much faster. Just keep practicing. Naruto's face shone with determination. Then let's keep going. As the training continued, Hinata quietly watched, admiring Naruto's enthusiasm. He really never gives up. As the sun began to dip lower in the sky, Kurenai finally called an end to the session. That's enough for today. Keep practicing, Naruto, and by the time your team is assigned next week, you might be able to do this flawlessly. Naruto beamed. You bet I will. Hinata hesitated before speaking. Thank you for training with us, Naruto-kun. Naruto blinked at her, then grinned. No problem, Hinata. We're friends, right? Hinata's heart skipped a beat, and she nodded shyly. All right. Kurenai smiled at the exchange before turning back toward the village. Come on, let's head back. As they walked, Naruto clenched his fists. I'm gonna get stronger. I'll prove to everyone that I belong here. Just you wait, Konoha. Uzumaki Naruto is gonna be the greatest ninja ever.